That was the that was the vice president. That was Kamala Harris. Kissing the first dude, the second dude, right? Kissing the second dude while wearing a mask. That was here, I'll show it to you again. Yeah. Kamala Harris kissing her husband. Both of them vaccinated. Both of them outside. Both of them living together. And they kissed each other while wearing a mask. Oh boy, Ada Jet Noise. Thanks for joining me this morning. I don't even know what to, I don't even know what to say anymore about the mask things, the vaccines, and the decisions that these people are making, or the information that they're giving us anymore. It's just, it doesn't, nothing jives. If you follow the CDC, who has their own issues, the CDC has already suggested, that, hey man, there's no reason to wear a mask outside, especially if you're vaccinated. You shouldn't have been wearing a mask outside in the first place. Ever. It's questionable enough. It's obviously questionable enough after all this time that the mask, even indoors, is an issue. When you're on top of each other. I think the best time to wear a mask is when you're around people that are vulnerable, susceptible to this, that were susceptible to this virus, which is our elderly and our people with underlying conditions that this thing could attack. I think that's when you start getting into the please wear the mask realm. It's but the virtue signaling, the ridiculous virtue signaling with these masks. This isn't like a teamwork kind of thing. You're not saying what is. I'm watching. Sorry, I just got interrupted. We're watching Joe Biden pick a dandelion for his wife, just as they're walking towards Marine One. I'm not exactly sure why you would do that. A dandelion of all things, but anyway, if you're a kid, you want to do that whole head popped off thing that I can understand. But yeah, I suppose somebody thought that was cute. Anyway, Ada Jet Noise, Facebook, Parler, YouTube, Rumble, MeWe. The mask thing. I'm tired of talking about the mask thing, but it's right now. If you're still a fan of the mask, you're in a different realm. You're dealing with some different issues other than you're worried about the virus anymore. It's just not a thing. Is it? I mean, seriously. If the vaccine is working, I mean, how long are we going to argue about this? If the vaccine is indeed working, and over 50 million people, approaching 200 million people in a 300 million of a population of over 330 million, if you're approaching the 200 million mark, if the vaccine is actually working, why are the masks still on? Even for those that are vaccinated, and that's kind of what the whole Kamala Harris and her husband, they've been vaccinated. I'm sure everyone in that picture, including those military guys, all have been vaccinated. They're outside. What is happening? If it's working, if the vaccine is doing what it's supposed to be doing, why the mask? It's not a selling point to the people that don't want to get this, or the people that are still questioning it, or the people that they're going to wait. What's the point of the vaccine if you have to just continue doing what you've been doing you can't be around your family, you have to wear a mask everywhere. What's the point of the vaccine? We've been doing this. We're doing exactly what we've been doing for over a year now. So, argue one way or the other about the mask, but don't get me involved, because you don't want to get me started. Let's go over some of the stuff that's been going on in this wild and wacky world that we call America today. Tennessee police officer responded to a call and is hit with an ambush. 22-year-old Salman Mohammed reportedly called authorities and told them that his brother shot their mother. Officer Brian Sherman and 2 other officers arrived at the home. All 3 officers were immediately met with gunfire. Officer Sherman was struck by a bullet in the upper left arm, was transported to Vanderbilt University Medical Center where he was treated for his injuries and released. It's clear that the phone call to the communications center about an active shooter was a ruse, a setup to get police to the scene. No one else in the home was injured. That was from a police spokesman. That particular spokesman continued on. Certainly, these calls are sitting with our officers. You can't ignore them. It's very concerning what our officers are being confronted with over the past few weeks. It's very concerning. Mohammed was armed with a rifle and then allegedly shot himself in the head. No shots were fired by the police. Now we're talking about setups for our police officers. No one is going to blame you if you walk away from the profession. No one will blame you. It's already bad enough that when you walk out the door, your first and only wish is to get to walk back in that same door. And now there is a war between evil and the police. Evil and the police. Don't misconstrue that, because that just makes you look like an idiot. Vaccine stocks nosedive after Biden administration makes a global vow. Vaccine producer Pfizer, BioNTech, Novavax, Novavax, and Moderna all experienced stock nosedives on Wednesday after the Biden administration announced its support, stripping away vaccine patent protections, so the formulas can be shared with the world to produce generics. U.S. Trade Representative Catherine Tai announced in the afternoon that the administration supports waiving intellectual property protections for the COVID-19 vaccines. Let me get to that in a second. In the midst of a deadly pandemic, the Biden administration has taken an unprecedented step that will undermine our global response to the pandemic and the compromise of safety. The group's president and CEO, Stephen Ubai, told CSNBC, the decision will sow confusion between public and private partners, further weaken already strained supply chains, and foster the proliferation of counterfeit vaccines. Do you remember? Try to make this quick. Do you remember that in roughly around November is when the these companies started coming out, the Pfizer and Moderna and blah 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 blah. What these companies started coming out after the election with the idea that Biden was going to be in office, right? Even though Trump was the one that put the pedal to the metal and said we have to find a way to get some sort of vaccine. So for those of you that were happy to get the vaccine, you can thank Trump. I don't care which way you think about it or anything like that, but the vaccine is out there, and you went rushing to get the vaccine. It wouldn't have been there except Trump if it wasn't for Trump. No matter what Biden tries to sell you. Because the truth is what is. And what's the old saying? The truth will set you free. So remember that. So if you're a fan of the vaccine, Trump is the one that got you the vaccine. Meanwhile, the company started showing their faces and talking about how soon the vaccines would be there, particularly when it looked like Biden was going to somehow get into the office. So they started distancing themselves from Donald Trump. Their main goal when they do that is their vaccine is their vaccine. No one else can touch it. We're going to get the money off of this. We're going to get the money off of this. And when Trump had already gave him a whole bunch of money to get this thing off and running. So now they're in those particular companies are in the mind. They have the mindset that they are going to continue making a lot of money off of their vaccine. Because eventually, if it works here, as we play guinea pigs to the world, if it works here, people are going to want it everywhere. And these companies, Pfizer, Moderna, Novavax, all of these companies thought they were going to reap the benefits of their creation. What Biden just did was completely rip that out from underneath them. They thought that Biden would position them. This is the pipe fitters union again, the coal miners union again. These people invested in Biden to hold down the fort, and Biden just ripped out the rug from underneath them. And it cannot be a surprise. Meanwhile, it was. The pipe fitters came out. Oh, well, come on, man. What's going on? We really invested in you. Too late. Now the coal miners union is said, yeah, we're out. You're right. We should do away with coal. What do the coal miners think? Now, both of those entities, if you will, invested in Joe Biden as president, and they got burned. Now, the vaccine makers as well invested in Joe Biden and invested in their belief that they were going to just reap the benefits of creating the vaccine that saved the day. And Joe Biden just took that away from him. So, none of this is a surprise to someone like me, someone that's remotely right, someone that's conservative, someone that's libertarian. None of this is a surprise. But somehow, it's a surprise to these to these companies. Fascinating. Officer charged with the murder of Rayshard Brooks reinstated. Charges dropped. He's reinstated and the charges are dropped. Garrett Rolfe, the police officer that shot Rayshard Brooks, appealed his firing on Atlanta Civil Service Board ruled on Wednesday that due to the city's failure to comply with the several provisions of the code, the information received during witness testimony was not afforded. Rolfe was not afforded his right to due process. Had something to do. Part of it also has something to do with. In order for them to get rid of him, they have to give him the 10 days, some sort of 10-day notice or something like that of what they were going to do or the process that they were going to be going through, and they didn't do that. And on top of that, again, he didn't get his due process in the courtroom as well. Brooks was killed. I don't know if you remember. Brooks was the guy that down in Atlanta that was driving drunk and ended up in a Wendy's drive-through, and he fell asleep in the line, in his car, in the line. So he's directly in the middle of this line, and since he wasn't moving, people had to start either going around him or beeping horns or something like that. But he's completely knocked out. He was completely knocked out in his car. The police showed up, including this Garrett Rolfe, and actually one officer came before him and tried to wake him up, and he couldn't, not tapping on the window. The door was open. He opened the door and shook Brooks awake. They pulled Brooks off to the side, and Rolfe called for an officer certified in DUI. That's when, or not Rolfe, excuse me, the officer that was there, called a certified DUI officer, and that's when Rolfe showed up. All right. If you watch the video, it's like 45 minutes long, I think it is. Yeah, it's a pretty long video. And some of the body cam footage and stuff like that. You can hear these people having a conversation, the police officers, including Brooks, Rayshard Brooks. It was a civil conversation to the point to there was, it was friendly enough where there was even a little bit of joking going on. So they were being civil to each other, and then Brooks, it was found out that Brooks had a warrant. Go figure, right? So on top of DUI, they had to cuff him. When they went to cuff him, then Brooks lost his mind. He started to fight the officers, including grabbing one of the officer's tasers, and shot the taser and hit the officer. At that time, now that officer is vulnerable, and Rolfe pulled his gun and shot Brooks. And of course, rest is history, Black Lives Matter, blah, 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 blah. In that whole incident, nothing went wrong. Or I should say, the only thing that went wrong is when Brooks lost his mind, and it sent everything south. And the only reason they got rid of Rolfe was because it was high profile. The whole thing was a high profile thing. So Rolfe, should have never lost his job, and so he is back on the beat the way he should be. And maybe we can stop pretending that Rayshard Brooks is some sort of hero for acting a fool in getting shot. And we got the CDC guidelines. The CDC guidelines to the camp, outdoor camping, these summer camps for kids. I don't know if you've seen it, but they're still talking about mask. It's kids on the CDC. In the CDC, the statistics, kids are barely affected by the virus, by this virus. Kids are barely affected. If anyone is safe, it's kids. And now you're going to send them to summer camp, and they're talking about, oh, you got to wear a mask indoors. If you're within close quarters outside, you got to wear a mask. Even Fauci said that there would be adjustments to this thing because it seems he called it conservative. He called it conservative. That the decisions, that the guidelines that the CDC was providing for summer camps. I say if your summer camp is having your kid wear a mask, don't send them. If that's your thing, if you're still in fear, if you're still in fear of this virus, and you want them to wear the mask, I suggest don't send them. Because if you believe that it is that dangerous for your kid to go to summer camp, that they should wear a mask while they're outside doing kid things around kids, then I wouldn't even risk it. If my mind was that way, I wouldn't even risk sending them. Now, if you are going to send your kid to summer camp, then you believe that, yes, my kid will be safe at summer camp. They're not affected by the virus. They're the least likely to be affected by the virus, excuse me. They shouldn't have to wear a mask. They can take precautions. They can wash their hands, and they will be outside for the majority of the time. But if they have to wear a mask, I can't send them. If at a camp, you have to wear a mask, I'm not sending them. So what it sounds like, my underlying reasoning here is take away the camp's opportunity to make any sort of money or to just destroy camps. I know you don't want them to go away, but something has to give. Something has to give. People have to start taking a stand. It is camp. And if the camp doesn't feel safe to operate, then the camp should not exist. It certainly shouldn't. Here's a good one. Rock climbing. Indeed. I'm going to have to just make a segment about this kind of stuff. Rock climbing is racist. Yes. Rock climbing is racist. PE 1641. BIPOC. BIPOC rock climbing at Cornell University this spring. BIPOC. If you haven't heard what BIPOC is BIPOC. B, black. I, indigenous. POC, people of color. BIPOC climbing at Cornell University this spring. Some were shocked to learn that the class was open only to students identifying as black, indigenous, and people of color. The paper, the Cornell Daily Sun said the thread of posts to the Cornell Reddit called for an end to the racially segregated PE class at Cornell. So, of course, you could only be Black, Indigenous, or people of color. So anything outside of that, white, was not allowed to join. So it is now a racially segregated class. Even though Title IV, or Title, is it Title IV or Title VI? Title VI states that no educational program receiving federal financial assistance may exclude participation on the basis of race or national origin. All right, so we have a law in place that says you can't do this. You just can't do it. In either direction. It doesn't say exclude Black people or Indigenous people. It says you can't make those decisions based on race. We have laws in the books that says that. It says that particular thing. After nationwide backlash, of course, the school opened enrollment to all students and wrote a new course description saying the class is designed to enable Black, Indigenous. Okay, this is a different approach towards the same class. The class is designed to enable Black, Indigenous, Latin, Latinx, Asian, or other people of color, underrepresented in the sport of rock climbing, to learn the sport and to feel included and supported. The class is open to all Cornell students interested in learning rock climbing with this special focus. My question is, why is it underrepresented? Why is rock climbing underrepresented? I can guarantee you that there is no all-white rock climbing class anywhere. I can guarantee you that there's no mountains that are all-white mountains, all-white rock climbing mountains. There is nothing, absolutely nothing, standing in the way of someone that is not white from rock climbing. Why can't you go rock climbing? You do realize that you find a rock and you climb it. You don't have to ask the rock, is it okay that I'm a Native American? Is it okay if I'm a Black kid from Chicago? Find a rock and climb it. You can go to some of these indoor gyms, right? They got the rock climbing walls. You walk in, and even if the place is full of white people, you walk in, pay whatever it is you pay, put your little harness thingy on, and start climbing the wall. I do not understand how rock climbing has somehow been kept from people of color. Someone is going to have to explain that to me. There is one thing that I see is a problem with youth, with particularly people under 30, as far as that could be the underlying problem as to why more people of color, if you will, are not rock climbing. And it starts to become evident as you hear what the students had to say. student Lam Asfa. Sorry, I butchered that. I have no idea how to say this. Lam Asfa told the paper that the course's BIPOC label encouraged her to enroll in it, adding that others should focus less on why segregation exists and more why there's a need to segregate. I am now in the twilight zone. Student Yvonne Chan told the Daily Sun that the course is a safe space, particularly since there are 8 sections of PE 1640 basic rock climbing apart from the BIPOC class. Thomas Gambra, another minority student, told the paper that hearing people complain about this class, saying it's taking away from our white peers, is laughable and frustrating. I don't even know where to go. There has been this incredible wave towards segregation. It was literally crumbled in the 80s. It was crumbled in the 80s. It started to crumble in the 60s. And it was crumbled in the 80s. This segregation. People are actually for segregation, and it's not white people. I did see an Ami Horowitz video where Ami was asking white liberals, you know, is it okay to segregate? Yeah, it's okay to segregate. That's what they want. And then he would go to the other side of town and talk to black people, and they were like, have you lost your mind? What do you mean segregation? Meanwhile, those very same people that have that mindset are still going to vote for people that encourage segregation. And now I see that these kids actually now have a belief, they find it comforting to be segregated. Student Matthew Gavieta, a BIPOC instructor leading the course this year, told the paper it's unlikely that students who don't identify as BIPOC would enroll in the course. At the end of the day, there is an issue of inaccessibility for minorities, in this white-centric sport. And BIPOC rock climbing is a small step toward desegregating that community. Now, my confusion is that the instructor believes that it's desegregating the community, but meanwhile they're using segregation to supposedly desegregate of the rock climbing community. They don't even feel safe around white people. They can't even rock. These people can't even rock climb around white people. It sounds to me like some of them wouldn't even have considered rock climbing, or didn't consider rock climbing until they found out that they don't have to do it around white people. What is happening? How is it that you cannot climb rocks because white people are around? Is rock climbing indeed racist? It sounds, to me, it's to them, or I should say, to me, it sounds like to them, they genuinely believe that they were not allowed to rock climb because of their skin color. These people, because they're not white, they are not allowed to rock climb. So, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, rock climbing is racist. Bill Gates. Bill Gates. Did you know Bill Gates is getting a divorce? Bill and Melinda are getting a divorce. Bill did not. They've been together for 27 years. They have a 25-year-old daughter. I think that's their oldest. Bill did not get a prenup. And it's strange that he didn't get a prenup because around the time that he met Melinda is when he hit his first billion. So he had the money. And then Melinda came along. It almost sounds like she was reading in the paper, ooh, billionaire Bill Gates. Then she got dressed up all pretty. And showed up at somewhere where Bill shows. But yeah, he hit his first billion about 28, 29 years ago. And here comes Melinda at around 27. And then Bill married her without a prenup. It's now, I know there's a lot of women right now throwing things at their speakers, at their phone, laptop, what have you, at their device. But if you are a billionaire in this world and you don't get a prenup, you have lost your mind. If you marry after you are a billionaire and you do not get a prenup, you have lost your mind. She's gonna have all kinds of money when she's with you. And if the day comes when you're divorced, then the prenup takes care of her the way it should be. She has nothing to worry about if you're a billionaire. But if you're a billionaire and you get married afterwards and you do not sign a prenup, I'm sorry, you get everything you deserve. Now he's got $130 billion on the line if things get ugly. And Melinda, here's what she wrote. Melinda wrote, it says a spousal support is not needed. Melinda wrote, spousal support is not needed because she gonna get half. She gonna get half. She don't need him in this. She does not need any sort of alimony because she gonna get half. It's just the way it is. She may get more than half. The couple said that their work with the Gates Foundation will continue, but not their marriage. After a great deal of thought and a lot of work on our relationship, we have made the decision to end our marriage. We have raised 3 incredible children and built a foundation that works all over the world to enable all people to lead healthy, productive lives and kill small children in Africa. No, I didn't say that. I said that. Look, I wish Bill all the luck in the world. I genuinely don't believe that he is a bad guy. I think that there was some bad decisions made by Melinda. I think Melinda I think she believes that her brand of caring is a top-notch brand of caring, And Bill funded that godlike mindset that she had. And I think that he started to believe that he indeed can do the same. Again, how many times have we gotten advice from Bill Gates on how to handle the coronavirus? Shut up, man. But Bill is, since he didn't sign a prenup, all I can say is, Bill, you're getting what you deserve. Enough out of me. Thanks for joining me today. And try to get with you guys again real soon so we can, the new format is coming. The flybys will be with my original thought. I always thought it was a good idea that the flybys should be far, far shorter. You'll start seeing the monologues will be more deliberate, and the changes will be coming soon. So please be patient with me. Love you guys. Thanks for tuning in, even if it's for 1 minute, to hear me ramble on about the madness that we know that we call the world today. See you soon, and I've got updates and lessons. I call them lessons for the people that don't know about my son, and updates for the people that do know about my son. On what's going on with my son and his condition, and it's some status updates that, quite frankly, are a little positive. So I don't know if you've noticed in some of my past episodes, my little sign in the back that says prayers for Irv. I think your prayers have been working. So updates coming very soon on Ada Jet Noise. Until then, big hug. Be good. Be still. Enjoy your life.